So is everybody seeing it now?
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I went through, as Paula said, you have gotten training on the shift model. We use the shift model. We have a 2014 and a 2040. We have a 2014 base year, a 2040 forecast year, and we have the networks located at these locations. I set up this folder. You can change the folder structure according to your local environment, and so we use those as the base on the forecast year. So the attributes, I think I need to at least just briefly go through what we have from the perspective of developing the script. We have the length, which we need for VMT, and then we have the truck flow and the auto flow, and then we have the state code and the county code, which is needed for us to report by county if for the states that report by county. And this is just a screenshot of the attributes in the network. Then what we noticed was that the shift network that we need to get delay, we also need the free flow speed, which wasn't available on the shift network, but it was available on the LATTS network, which is pretty much the same as the shift network. So we ended up joining the attributes to get to the shift network to get the free flow speed. And then this is just an example of for Georgia, the REMI regions, for the latest REMI regions for 2016. So we report by these regions for Georgia. For Mississippi, we use a table instead that has a crosswalk between the region and the corresponding counties. And we use that to populate the attributes on the shift network for region. Then we set up the script files. We have several script files for each state. It's 9 states that we compile results for each one. So we have one script each for the base year and for 2040. So that's about 18 script files. And this just shows, this is just a screenshot of the locations. So then we go into Transcad itself to be able to run the script. We open up Transcad, you go to the tools on the menu, and then you go to the GIS Developers Kit, and this toolbox will pop up. And the first icon on the left compiles the script that we developed. And once the script is compiled, then we go to the next icon, which shows the 3 arrows pointing to the right, and that runs the script that was developed. And as mentioned before, for Georgia and Mississippi, we report by REMI region. For most of the remaining states, we report by county. And as Paula mentioned, for Louisiana, the REMI is a statewide REMI, so we report by statewide for Louisiana. So we compile the script, as mentioned, and then we run the script. And to run the script, we use the command that summarize outputs in the box that will pop up when you click that run command. That was the 3 arrows pointing to the right. And then when you press OK, if you have files open, you might get a prompt to save your file or not. And that is, it's up to you to determine if it's important enough for the work that you have up to be saved or not. So we'll run that, and then so the script then gets run, and we get the outputs are a series of data Dbf files that consist of rows that have the region that is being reported, and then the VMT, the VHT, and the delay of VHD for each region, and then the auto trips are further divided into the commute, leisure, and business, and then the shift model reports trucks separately. So we just pull those numbers separately. And the output files are located under this folder structure. This will be when we provide the user guide, we'll definitely specify where the files are located for you to access the input, for you to access an input to the spreadsheet. And this is for the forecast year. That was the previous slide was for the base year. Then for the economic input sheet, as Paula mentioned, we need a build and a no build for the base year, and a build and a no build for the forecast year. And as mentioned, we have a script file for each combination. And so what we do the highlighted the area shown in the box are just that's just the path for the various model input files. And if you decide to run a different scenario and name your file differently, then you would necessarily have to change the file name to match what you use for that particular scenario. And then this is just an example of the output Dbf file with the region and as the rows going down. And this was for Georgia. This example was for Georgia. And then going across for the columns of the VMT, delay, VHT, and truck by leisure, commute, business, and trucks. Then we take that output Dbf file, those output Dbf files, I should say, and then we populate the sheet that Paula was referring to that's used in the FEAT tool. So you'll see the format looks similar. The tool has, in addition to the main tab that shows all the comparisons, we use four additional tabs to enter and format the input to match.
Hey, Sheldon, this is Paula. I have a question.
Yes.
So, in this is again, kind of assuming not being a modeler. This was as long as I have those Dbf files and the blank input sheet in the same folder. Do I just open up the blank input sheet and hit that populate button, and then it automatically pulls the data from the Dbf file?
Not in this iteration. You would have to populate copy the Dbf file into those tabs.
Okay, but it's already in the format, so it's a copy and paste.
Right, correct. I mean, I didn't have the time to set up that automated input process, but in time for this presentation. It's a copy and paste process, and that would streamline things even further.
Okay. But the statewide scripts, so you also developed a similar script for use with the statewide models if the states are using their own travel demand model. Were those scripts set up to automate the population? Or
yes, those were set up to automate the population. Yes. So yes. So that's so we have these tabs, and then And as I was just mentioning, Paula, you just basically copy and paste the Dbf information into those tabs, and it will automatically then populate the main sheet in the correct format and order. And this was just an example of the different reporting geographies for the different states, but just some examples for Arkansas by county, for Georgia and Mississippi. For Georgia, for Mississippi by Remy, and for Georgia by Remy. And then just some notes on this shift network, which I won't get into, since we have already covered that.
And for those people, all the shift training materials are all on the ITTS website. So,
okay.
And if you want more information, I can send that information to you as well.
Okay. And then, as Paula was just asking about, we also did similar work for states that have their own statewide models, and so we developed scripts for those. For six of the states have their statewide models mentioned here, and 3 of them use Transcad, 3 use Cube, which are different modeling application platforms, and so the methodology is a bit different between the two to produce the scripts, the output Dbf files. But once you get to the sheet section, as Paula was asking, we have a button that automatically inputs the files and formats them in the correct order. And then just some conclusions on the shift model. So, yeah, that's what I have. Any questions?
Yeah, the scripts for the individual models for the states, where are they located? So I see the scripts shift.
I guess we can. They were uploaded maybe a few months ago. We can forward forward that location to you guys. But
hey, Sheldon, can you just put them on the same Ignite site where we put this material, and let that be our common?
Okay. Okay, we'll do. So we'll put all of those scripts in the same location with correctly named, so that you can determine which ones are from the shift and which ones are for each statewide application.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Any other questions?
No, Sheldon, is this PowerPoint? Are you going to share this with us as well?
Yes, this PowerPoint actually is on the shared location. I can forward the exact.
Well, no, the reason being is I just looked at the Word file. I didn't spend a lot of time looking at everything else. That's my fault.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's shared, and I can email it as well. It's not too big,
okay.
So yes.
Yep, seeing it now.
Oh, okay. Should be in presentation mode now.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's get started. So as Paula will explain later, we have developed this tool for economic analysis, and the tool requires model inputs. And because of the folks like Missouri and West Virginia, we decided to try the shift model, which is able to accommodate all the states in a consistent manner. So we went with the shift. There is already training has already been done on the shift model, and that documentation and stuff can be referenced on the ITTS website. So the shift model, just a brief overview for the purposes of this part-specific application. It has a 2014 base year and a 2040 forecast year. The extent is national, but it's focused on the southeast, with Texas being the most westerly in terms of the focus area, and Virginia in the north. And this is just a map with what the network looks like. It is implemented using Transcad, which is one of the main travel modeling applications out there. You have Cube as well and some others. It's similar to the statewide models, but the network detail is a bit lower because the scale is larger, and the analysis scale and stuff is generally at a higher level. So for the networks that we use to compile the outputs, we have the base year condition, and it's located at if you download the input, the files that I provided, and not change the basic folder structure, you should be able to replicate this folder location. And similarly for the forecast year, that, as mentioned, depending on your local machine and how you set up the folders, you may need to modify those that path accordingly. In the terms of the network itself, for our purposes, we need specifically the length attribute and the truck attribute, the daily flow attribute, and also the state code and the county code, so that we can compile the results by relevant geography. And this is just a screenshot of the attributes in the shift network opened up in Transcad. The shift network, however, we noticed didn't come with a free flow speed, but a free flow speed is available from the LATS network, which is pretty much the same network. So we just use GIS techniques to join the LATS network to the shift network, and then copy over the free flow speed attribute so that we have that as well. That we need the free flow attribute to be able to calculate delay. So we have the congested and the free flow, and then the difference would be the delay per link, and then we summarize that. For 2 states in the region, we compile the results by REMI instead of by county. Georgia and Mississippi are those examples. Louisiana also does REMI, but it's a single REMI region, so it's the entire state. That simplifies things. This map just shows the REMI regions for Georgia. The 2016, the current REMI definition. For Mississippi, we have a table that references the REMI regions to the specific Mississippi counties, and we use that to then populate the shift attribute. We add another shift attribute called region, and we use we populate that attribute with these relationships using GIS techniques. The scripts that actually do the summarization are then located in this specific folder structure, under the shift script folder, and we have 18 different scripts. Each for the base and the forecast year for each of the 9 regions that we are analyzing, from Arkansas through to West Virginia. Now, to run the scripts, we need to open up the transcode, and we go to the if you go to the menu at the top, and then go down, you'll see an attribute called you'll see an option called GIS Developers Kit, and it will when you click on that, you will get this pop-up dialog box or icon dialog box. And within that dialog box, you will see several icons. The two icons on the left are the ones that we are interested in. The one to the far left compiles the script, and then the one beside it with the three arrows pointing to the right runs the compiled script that we developed. For each of the states, we report by specific geography. For as mentioned, for Georgia and Mississippi, we report by a REMI region. From Louisiana, it's the entire state, which is one REMI region, and then for the remaining states, we report by county. So going back to the script. Once we click run, run on that dialog box, we get these additional dialog boxes. So to run the script, you'll see that test and add-in box, the upper box, and in the name text column or text box, you put, if you enter summarize outputs, that will, and then click OK, that will launch the run. If you have other files open, you may get a second dialog pop-up box that asks if you want to save the whatever work you have before the run is launched, because it basically clears everything before launching the run. So it's up to you to determine how you'd like to handle that, if you have stuff that you need to save or not. The outputs from the script are a set of data Dbf files, and these files contain the VMT, VHT, and delay for reported by region or county, and in the case of Louisiana, by the entire state. So it's just a single line. And then for each of the metrics, the VMT, VHT, VHD, we break down the trips into commute, leisure, business, and trucks. I should mention that those purposes are determined based on some assumptions with regards to the travel modeling, trip purposes like home-based work and stuff. We use assumptions with regards to the proportions of specific types that roughly correspond with leisure and so on. And then this is just an example of the location of the Dbf file in the outputs. It's the file. The Dbf files are typically placed in the outputs folder for the relevant year that we are interested in. So in the case of the base year, it will be 2014, and similarly for the in 2040, it's 2040 forecast year outputs. And then once we have those Dbf files, we can then go about populating the inputs in the format required for the FEAT tool. We typically need a base year build, a no build, a forecast year build, a no build, and as mentioned, we prepared a script file and script outputs for each combination. Then we go to change the specific files that we need. depending on how you how you set up the model, where you place your scripts and the actual network. If you leave it as is on the C drive and using the FEAT main FEAT folder, the box highlights the pathing that will work, and you'll be able to run the network using that. Whatever change, if you have a different folder structure, you'll have to change these paths accordingly to ensure that you're referencing the correct files for the correct scenario. And then this is just an example of the Dbf output file opened up in Transcode, where we have, and this was shown for Georgia, and so we have the REMI region as the leftmost column attribute, and then you have the various metrics, the VMT, VHT, delay, for each of the various purposes: leisure, commute, business, and trucks. Once we have that, we go to the spreadsheet for the input to the FEAT tool. And this is an example of what this spreadsheet looks like for the tool. You'll see a build and a no build for each year. We have 4 additional tabs on the sheet to facilitate the importation of the Dbf files and to format the files and into the correct order for the input sheet. So you go to each of the tabs for the specific scenario that you're interested in. You copy the Dbf file inputs or outputs from the model to these sheets, and then it will automatically populate. As I went back a bit, it will automatically populate each of the specific rows in the input tool. This was just an example of the various geographies by which we do the reporting. And this is just a general overview of the Shift network, which much more detail can be found on the ITTS site, and it explains as well why we broke down the trips into purposes. We borrowed from the relevant statewide models or neighboring statewide models in the case of states that have none. And so the statewide models, we have a separate set of scripts that were developed as well for states that want to run just that have their own statewide models and are just interested in that in their area. So and those are the files I uploaded yesterday and pointed to in the email earlier today. Some of the states use Transcode, some of the states use Cube. So in some of the states, the methodology would be similar to as described here in the Shift, where we compile the script and then run the script. Whereas the ones and these are the Transcode files. For Cube, we would there's a different procedure because it's a different application, but the end result is basically the same: a set of Dbf files with the reported metrics by reporting region. So, and then this is just a final conclusion. We use the Shift model because it at least allows all the states to be compared. We can, And in some cases, you may even be interested in an MPO level scale, and in that case, if you have an MPO model, we can use the same methodology at that scale to report the metrics. And so that's what I have. Thank you. Any questions? No questions?
And just as an FYI for you all on the phone, this is I've actually never ran the script. We always have our travel demand modelers run the scripts. So this is really just kind of a shortcut to keep them from, typically what we would do is we would supply our travel demand modelers with a worksheet and said, this is the data that we need to do our economic analysis. And then they were going off and writing individual scripts every time we sent them a spreadsheet. But with this, we keep a consistent format so they can do one script, and then they'll be, anytime the model is ran, the travel demand modeler can run that script and then generate the format, the data that you need to run the FEAT tool in the format that's needed.
Right. Bruce, did you have a question?
No, I was just wanting to tell you whenever you're ready, just give me the command of the file and I'll share it with Paula. Unless you can switch directly to Paula. I don't know if you can do that or not.
Let me see. All right, so...
Yeah, try going to the people and then clicking on my name and see if you can make me the presenter.
Okay. Okay, right. Did that work?
Yes.
Okay.